8. Foo Fighters. If you ask anyone nowadays what the Foo Fighters are, they'd likely tell you about the rock band fronted by Dave Grohl. However, if you asked a World War II pilot or an avid military historian, they'd have a very different answer for you. Foo Fighters was the name given to the unidentified objects that many pilots came across during the Second World War. We first heard these strange occurrences being called Foo Fighters in 1944. That was when a radar operator named Donald J. Myers in the 415th Night Fighter Squadron decided to name them after a catchphrase in his favorite comic, Smokey Stover. The nickname caught on with other soldiers, and soon it became the universal term for mysterious and weird flying objects. There were multiple sightings of Foo Fighters throughout World War II. One of the first sightings came when a Polish merchant ship, the SS Pulowski, was transporting Allied troops in 1941. As they passed through the Indian Ocean, 2 of the crew members reported seeing a green orb in the sky, which they equated to be about half the size of the full moon. In November 1944, strange yellow, white, and red lights dogged Allied pilots in the skies over Europe. They moved quickly, following the planes around, and even outmatched them in terms of agility and speed. The US Air Force's Charles R. Bastian spotted them above the skies of Belgium and the Netherlands during the closing months of the war, describing them as 2 fog lights flying at high rates of speed that could change direction rapidly. It's not just during World War II that Foo Fighters have been spotted though. In fact, they've been spotted even as recently as 2021, when Pakistani pilots reported seeing a large round ball with a metal ring around it flying through the air. 7. Northern Lights. There's a strange thing in the sky that has captivated people around the globe for thousands of years. We have cave paintings in France depicting it from 30,000 years ago. It was also mentioned by astronomers such as Galileo, who gave us its name. It still holds our imagination today, as many people make it a lifetime goal in order to see it. What we're talking about are the Northern Lights, otherwise known as the Aurora Borealis. This natural phenomenon consists of dancing waves of light that pass across the night sky at the top of the northern hemisphere, close to the North Pole. Many colors such as greens, pinks, blues, and yellows all merge together and swirl across the darkness. According to the Tromsø Geophysical Observatory, the ideal spot to observe the Northern Lights is within a 1,550-mile radius of the North Pole. This particular region is even nicknamed the auroral zone for how frequently it occurs. That doesn't mean you can't see it further south though, you just have to plan better to catch it at just the right moment. However, this spectacular natural phenomenon has a dark side. The reason that Aurora Borealis is caused comes down to a side effect of one of the Earth's defense systems. The Earth's magnetic field runs from pole to pole and is stronger at either end. When the Northern Lights flare up, this is the field at work protecting us from solar flares and particles from the sun, which fire at the planet at speeds of over 45 million miles per hour. This event is called solar wind. The energy that the magnetic field catches is drawn to the poles in the very north and south. These southern lights are called the Aurora Australis, leading to this majestic light display. If the solar flares were strong enough, they would cause devastating damage to modern-day living. For example, when a particularly strong burst hit the Earth in March 1989, leading to the aurora being seen as far south as Honduras, the geomagnetic power led to the entire power grid in the Canadian province of Quebec being completely wiped out. 6. The Chilean UFO. In 2014, Chilean Navy pilots in a Eurocopter AS-532 Cougar spotted something strange in the sky while on a training mission. They could only see it through infrared lenses, and it appeared to look like 2 blobs joined together. As the object moved through the sky, it emitted curious black trails of some sort of substance. At first, not believing their eyes, they radioed local airports and airfields to see whether they'd picked up the object on their radars. They hadn't seen it on their systems at all. The pilot of the helicopter tried to message it through their radios, but there was no response from the UFO. Concerned by the footage, the military chose to classify the video until they were able to truly figure out what exactly was going on. Had they really managed to capture alien life above the skies of their country? 3 years later, on January 5, 2017, it seemed like they were no closer to getting answers. The only thing that the Chilean government could agree on was to classify it as a UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomenon. Eventually, the video was posted on the internet by a known UFO enthusiast, Leslie Keane, to see whether anyone around the world could crack the case. However, after just 5 days, internet sleuths working together managed to figure out a possible explanation. Using flight data, they were able to work out that there was a passenger plane, an Airbus A340, that would have been in the exact position of the strange object that the Eurocopter picked up. As the Airbus was going faster than the helicopter and heading north, and in its takeoff ascent from where the pilot was, it would have made the Airbus look like it was moving super slow. But how do you explain the strange shape? The Airbus A340 has 2 pairs of jet engines on either side of its wings, which to a poorer quality camera like the one on the Eurocopter had for infrared would have merged together to create 2 connected blobs. As for the strange black trails of substance, it turns out that this is exactly what contrails look like in infrared vision. Would you have been able to work out what this strange object was? Let us know in the comments and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. 5. Sundogs. Sundogs aren't actually canine companions in the clouds, but they are certainly one of the most fascinating phenomena to happen in our sky. If you've ever looked up into the sky and thought that it looked like there were multiple but less bright suns, what you probably spotted were sundogs. Their scientific name is parhelia, and they're usually found 22 degrees to the left or right of the sun when they occur. You'll usually see them in winter or when temperatures drop, as they're formed by the sun refracting through ice crystals stored in the clouds. Visible when the sun is near the horizon, you might need to wake up early to see one. Typically, sundogs are white, much like mock suns. However, there have been other colors reported as well, often a rainbow gradient with red in the center. Sometimes, sundogs are accompanied by another marvel of light, a sun halo. This looks like a giant ring of light around the sun and is caused in the same way as sundogs. Ice crystals with hexagonal shapes and clouds reflect the sunlight to create this ethereal effect. Sun halos also have other names, so you might have heard of an ice bow, nimbus, or gloriole. They're all the same thing. Although we aren't sure for certain how sundogs got their nickname, one of the explanations is pretty cute. It's said that they're called sundogs because the Greek god Zeus was walking his dogs across the sky. The sun is Zeus, and the 2 smaller lights following him faithfully around the skies are his pooches. 4. Volcanic lightning. Lightning can be quite dramatic. But when you see a swirling column of it wrapped around the red-hot plume of an erupting volcano, it's enough to take your breath away and have you running for cover too. Volcanic lightning only occurs when a volcano erupts. Like most other forms of lightning, it happens when static electricity concentrates in the atmosphere before becoming thunderbolts. However, volcanic lightning only occurs in the plume of a volcano, and scientists are starting to unravel its secrets as to how exactly it occurs. One of the ways in which it happens is very similar to a traditional thunderstorm. The warm air from the volcano rises until it reaches the colder temperatures of the sky. They continue to rise into the atmosphere, getting colder and colder, before turning into ice particles bouncing and bumping into each other to create an electrical charge. The same principle is true when it comes to fracto emission, a phenomenon that's unique to volcanic eruptions. However, instead of ice particles, in this case it's small bits of rock and ash from the eruption that collide together to create the lightning's power. Some of the rocks can also have radioactive qualities, which can also help to contribute to these storms. It's also a matter of the higher the better when it comes to the height of the smoke plume. If the smoke reaches above 4.3 miles high, then the chances of volcanic lightning increase. If it happens and the cloud is lower, it's much more likely to have been caused by fracto emission. One thing is for sure, it makes for a spectacular fireworks display, so long as you can safely view it, of course. 3. Starling Murmurations. A murmuration is one of the animal kingdom's finest aerial displays. Hundreds of starlings all flock together, flying in unison to create swirling shapes and formations. Sometimes they don't seem to form a shape, but a bit like cloud watching, they can create amazing pictures for us to see. One example, captured by a photographer named James Crombie from Ireland, caught the starlings as they seemed to make the shape of a huge bird in the air. But how are these tiny birds capable of such coordination? There's never a leading starling that sets the pace for the others. Instead, each bird takes cues and reacts to its nearby companions in the air. If the birds around it change speed or direction, then they will adapt too with lightning-fast reflexes. As to why they perform murmurations, it's to help them to be able to fend off predators such as hawks and buzzards that would prey on them if they were alone. By forming a swirling mass of flying bodies, it becomes more challenging for birds of prey to attack them. It also makes them appear bigger than they are by grouping together, which can help ward off creatures looking for a starling snack. 2. Green flash. You might have heard of a green flash being mentioned in pirate stories or movies, a strange green flash of light on the horizon at sunrise or sunset. For example, it was used in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies to signify a soul coming back from the dead. But did you know it's actually something you can see in the sky for yourself if you're lucky? A green flash occurs only for a few seconds, so blink and you'll miss it. During this strange phenomenon, the sun will seem to appear bright green. You might think red to be a more likely color for the sun to turn, but the reason why it appears green is down to wavelengths of light. The science behind it is that the lower the sun is, the longer the wavelengths of light have to travel to get to our eyes. Colors like red and yellow have shorter wavelengths, but colors like blue and green can get to us easier. When all of the perfect conditions are met, usually at sunset, then the green color is the one that dominates the most. Green flashes have long since been regarded as being positive omens within folklore. For example, some say that if you've seen one, then all will be well in your love life. Other myths about it say that if you spot it, the next day will be great. To see one for yourself, you'll need to make sure you get a day with clear skies and have a viewing point that's either high up or on the ocean to ensure that the horizon is far enough away but also clearly visible. 1. Fogbos. Rainbows are known for their abundance of color, but did you know that you can spot one with no color at all? Fogbos follow the arc shape of a rainbow, but they're completely white. They happen in the same way that rainbows do when there's sun behind you, but it's also raining lightly. The small rain particles then refract the sunlight, and unlike a rainbow where the colors split to show the full prism of color, in fogbos all the colors stay merged, making them appear white. This is due to a process called diffraction, which broadens the light in the fogbow. That's also why they appear wider when you spot them in the sky. You can also spot this phenomenon when you're up in the air yourself. Cloudbows are cousins of fogbows in meteorological terms and are caused by the water droplets formed in the clouds as you fly by in a plane. Sometimes the cloudbow might even turn into a full circle if you're in the middle of a fog patch. Thanks for watching. Which of these strange sky phenomena surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.